Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 33rd,
Woo.
33rd installment of our CavanKerry Press
Yeah.
virtual reading series. I am the Marketing and Communications Director at CavanKerry Press, Dimitri Reyes, and I'm a brown Latino male with a bob haircut, a bushy but trimmed beard, a blue shirt, and brown glasses. And it's a joy to be bringing this special reading to you today for the launch of Kathy Kremins's The Curve of Things, published by CavanKerry Press on this May 7th of 2024. That book is going to be on sale all night for 20% off. This is the only time you can catch it with the coupon code nonlinear. So that's an exclusive 20% discount at checkout with the coupon code nonlinear. Gabriel Cleveland, our director at CavanKerry Press, is the one that delivers and ships out our books. He's noticing a lot of you that already have purchased that book, and we thank you so much. If you love what you hear tonight, buy two, buy 10 for a friend. We love to see it, and we love to have your support. Before we do begin this evening with both our very special guest, Dr. Grisel Y. Acosta, and our marquee feature for this evening, the wonderful, the only Kathy Kremins with the launch of her new book, I am going to pass it over to Gabriel Cleveland to deliver our land acknowledgement. You're going to see Grisel and Kathy pop out, but you will see them later. So say bye to Grisel and Kathy. Bye, Grisel and Kathy. Okay, all yours, Gabe.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gabriel Cleveland, and I'm the director and managing editor for CavanKerry Press. I am a man with pinkish white skin with long dark blonde hair pulled down the left side of my head, and I have a short reddish chin strap beard, mustache, and soul patch. I am wearing rectangular black and red glasses in front of my blue eyes and a yellow t-shirt which says Shinsetsu ni shite kudasai, a Japanese phrase which literally means please do kindness and effectively translates to please be kind. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the latest in CavanKerry's series of virtual readings celebrating our new and forthcoming releases. Before the reading begins, we wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that the land we occupy in Bergen County, New Jersey, belongs to the Munsee Lenape people. We honor their history and acknowledge that we cannot function in our work as arts activists, nor offer a safe space for all writers without understanding the struggle for Indigenous rights. We will momentarily be adding to the chat a map of native lands for you to identify which land you occupy, as well as links to a few resources for you to learn even more and/or offer your support. We would also like to acknowledge that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, a time to raise awareness of and reduce the stigma surrounding behavioral health issues, as well as highlighting the ways that mental illness and addiction can affect all of us, patients, providers, families, and our society at large. We at CavanKerry advocate for compassionate, humane, and equitable treatment of all people, especially those most vulnerable among us, not just in May, but always. Now I will hand it back to our marketing and communications director, Dimitri Reyes, who will serve as our trusty MC for the evening to introduce tonight's readers. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. Thank you so much. So the run of show this evening, we will start with our very special guest, Grisel Y. Acosta, and then afterwards, we will turn it over to Kathy Kremins. And then afterwards, we will have a Q&A, as we do for every reading at the end of the evening. If you are so moved by these lovely words that are happening tonight, please put that down in the comments, in the chat. And if you are ever so moved, please put any of your questions down, because I will be issuing those questions and talking about those questions in the exchange with Grisel and Kathy later on. So without further ado, I'm going to read Grisel Y. Acosta's bio. Grisel Y. Acosta, she, they, is the author of Things to Pack on the Way to Everywhere, Buy the wonderful, get fresh books. A 2020 Andres Montoya Poetry Prize finalists. They are the editor of Latina Outsiders, Remaking Latina Identity, Routledge 2019, which features over 30 Latina contributors. And she is the creative writing editor at Chicana Latina Studies Journal. Select Works is in Platform Review, Best American Poetry, The Baffler, A Census Review, Quality Journal, Gathering of the Tribes magazine, Speculative Fiction for Dreamers, a Latinx anthology, and The Future of Black, Afrofuturism, Black Comics, and Superhero Poetry. Dr. Acosta was a panelist for NYFA, the Rasmussen Foundation, Headlands Center for the Arts, and the final award reader for the Fairfield Book Prize. Recent work includes oral history interviews of Latina Latinx folks from Chicago's Logan Square neighborhood, funded by the Mellon Foundation Black, Race, and Ethnic Studies Initiative at the City University of New York. They are a full professor at CUNY BCC, Macondo Fellow, Vona alum, and Dodge Foundation poet. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Grisel Y. Acosta.
Hi. This is really, really exciting. I am so grateful to be here. Thank you to everyone who is in the Zoom space and everyone who is watching via Facebook. And I want to thank Gabriel and Dimitri, and of course, our honoree, Kathy. This is a really, really beautiful book. And I love that it's all about the non-linear nature of women and love between women. It's a gorgeous book. So please get it if you haven't. I'm going to start by reading a poem from the book. And we already discussed this, so there is no overlap. You will be hearing poems from the poet and I'm just diving into Kathy's world for a moment, and then I'll read a few poems of mine, and then one last poem of hers, and that's the way it'll go. So this one I chose because of the placement. I'm a Chicago native, so this is called Shed Aquarium, Chicago 2003. And it is provoked by Pierre Huge. I'm assuming that's the pronunciation of the last name. Zudrem 5, which is a stunning photograph. And it's after Sleeping Muse by Constantine Brancusi. And I just remembered that I needed to describe myself. So I am a Latina woman with reddish brown hair that's very curly. I'm sitting in front of my library filled with books, and I have makeup on and a black top. Okay. So Shed Aquarium, Chicago, 2003. No chronology here. We only have our bodies. Seconds of puncture, a blink. You on the other side, looking at, through the tank. Constructed space, hermit crabs, arrow crabs, your favorites. Our landscape, living in between worlds, meanings, languages, enclosure of crustaceans, basalt, your floating head. Brancusi's Sleeping Muse, asymmetrical face on my pillow, stolen in the night. There is no story here, just repeated object. Strange, beautiful creatures, walking through the shed. After disruption, you hold my hand, another room, avoiding narrative arc, leaning in. Sometimes our eyes meet, mostly not. Watching you watch the crabs, part installation, part intimacy. You dream of swimming with dolphins, blink. You naked in Provincetown moonlight, blink. You deconstructed drifts in the pause. We interrogate, absorb, take each other in, minerals interacting, charged. Open my eyes, scene changed. Crabs rotate, light shifts. You, a shooting star, kiss my cheek, lips wet, eyes shine. Bright stars in our constellation. Where to next? Isn't that beautiful? Get the book. Okay, so I'm gonna read a few poems that are actually coming out in forthcoming publications, and then I'll read maybe a poem from Things to Pack on the Way to Everywhere. So let me read these poems that are coming out in some journals. So this one is coming out in Inkwell, which is published by the Manhattanville MFA program. It's called The Gravity of Together, and the epigraph is by Les Butcherettes. The epigraph is Your mouth was my planet. The gravity of together. How long can I spin mid-cosmos without oxygen is not something I considered alone in New York City, broke and eating an imagination breakfast in an attic apartment. You opened a spaceship of foolish whimsy and aerodynamic rocket wishes beyond the farthest stars, fed me magic words like, sing to me, and yes, even you, surprising me with opportunity to soar fire high, beyond planetary borders, open rivers, undam and flow powerful over what was once dry. Earth contained and solid, now fluid. That is to say, when you held me, it was good. But when you let me go, the universe gave birth. Our supernova shivers, both gravity and explosion, waves that continue to sound and sound and sound. Okay. All right, so that's in keeping with the romantic, intimate theme, but let's switch it up a little bit. The next two poems are forthcoming in Hopkins Review. And this one is for all you New Jerseyites. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The American dream is a mall built on top of marshes, housing the dead and ousted gangsters who land grabbed estuaries and replaced them with fiefdoms dedicated to football, liquor licenses, and mansions bedecked with plaster lions and plastic flamingos that will eventually rot salty in the rising waters that once housed heron, crabs, and people who protected the sacred limbo of land and water. Now, chlorine water slides, a Ferris wheel, neon signs begging for carnival dollars, reign as a sinking castle, nowhere in the middle of what was stolen hundreds of years ago. And we pay for this entertainment. Oh, yes, we will continue to pay. So for those of you who are not living in New Jersey, the American Dream is a real mall in New Jersey that has been riddled with bankruptcies, accidents, and other controversies. So that is a fact. Okay, I just have a couple more. Like three more. Two that are mine and one more that is Kathy's. So this one is a golden shovel. It's called Wild Women circa 1987, and it is after Buck Owens's Cigarettes, Whiskey, and Wild Wild Women. She said she hated girls who wore too much makeup and smoked cigarettes, which described most of my friends, making me realize misogynists and feminists are not gendered. So what else can I do but down whiskey on a hot summer night at the kitchen table with my oldest pals and listen to the Chicago hot mixes on BMX? And if that doesn't work, go wild at 2 a.m., drive down to 22nd and Cermak to the underground house party, wild out on the dance floor, swing from the padded poles, slam dance leathered women, make out behind the old box spring in the hallway, wear the silver crop top they'll be talking about for weeks, sweat so much I'm starving, then drive to Maxwell Street for a greasy burger or back north for breakfast with you. One I will continue to fantasize about in my sleep, dreaming surreal and crazy visuals of flaming cheese and grits and a lady with a chicken on her head, one they'll commemorate in a documentary when all of this is gone. What can I do but drive late at night, searching for something, someone, somewhere, maybe you or anyone who will see us smoking, angry, beautiful, fire, dancing, legitimately insane. Okay, and let's go back to the curve of things. This is a shorter one. You'll find the motif of blue throughout the book, which I love. And this one is called Blue Fields. Let me begin again. As pitch pine loved by wind of intense tones, gently stroked by breeze, blown sideways in blizzard, our intimacy accompanied by bird song as I whisper deeply from long needles, cry out from the shortest, a frenzy of sounds carved out of such still silence. Let me begin again. Walk blue fields with you. So beautiful. All right, and I'm gonna end with this. I think that I'm around time. I hope I'm not short, but I think this is plenty, yeah? Because we want to hear Kathy read, right? Okay. So I'm gonna end with the title poem of my book, Things to Pack on the Way to Everywhere. I don't read it that often, but it's such a beautiful day today outside in New Jersey, and I wanted this, I wanted to invoke this because it's a little bit outdoorsy, this one. Okay, so things to pack on the way to everywhere. Scent of a morning Weymouth pine forest that huddled under lightning storms at the midnight hour. Palo Santo, shea butter, both surprise gifts from a friend. One speckled igneous rock your mother painted with clear polish. Son lindos cuando brillan. Unseen prism hues in dew. Apricot afterglow of sunset resting on your father's face de canela. 3 nibbled acorns, carelessly discarded items by the precocious periwinkle hair. A gold goblet of bitter wine. Nina Cherry's fuck off pose. Recetas de abuela, bollo de yuca y arroz con leche. The melancholy of the long-eared owls. Whoo, whoo, whoo. A blue towel of Turkish cotton. The thwack of drunk slapping a surprised abuser. Pens in blue and green, a scroll made of linen and embers, prayer cards to the Holy Trinity of AOC, SCOTUS, Justice Sotomayor, La Lupe, Rita's anemone, homemade marshmallows, teriyaki beef jerky, organic raisins and jumbo cashews, a carving of my lover's eyelashes, tears of a rooster 5 minutes before dawn, Cuban or Puerto Rican, no importa, son lo mismo. 2 wax candles, a phallus, a vulva, made by an androgynous palinquerex, anointed by heliconius butterflies, reminding us mimicry is the tool of saints. Jesse de la Peña's Chicago Scratch, 1 chartreuse paint chip scratched off a rusty sign in San Antonio. A lick of cold gin slid off a New Jersey ice luge while a flanneled comedian sings stories to his dream-deferred cousins at 4 a.m. Camphor lip balm matches. The bag will be small, light, contain unseen sub-universes that on occasion will emit their own luminescence.
That's wonderful.
Thank you so much. And Kathy, I love you and I love the book. And thank you so much for blessing us with this wonderful book. I hope everyone buys it.
And thank you for your kindness, and thank you for the gift of your words, Grisel. I always love hearing you read, and your work just takes me places. So I appreciate you being here with us. And it
Thank
shows how
you.
strong our Jersey community is. We are beautiful people. We are beautiful writers. Thank you, Grisel. I'll be toning you back in a little while. Okay, so now, drum roll, please. Bye. We are here for Kathy Kremins' launch of The Curve of Things, now available by CavanKerry Press for order because today is in fact launch day. You can also get it for 20% off while we're on this reading with the coupon code nonlinear, which will be in the chat. I am going to be ushering in Kathy Kremins, and I am first going to read her bio. Kathy Kremins is a retired New Jersey public school teacher with a BA from the College of St. Elizabeth, an MFA from Goddard College, and a DLitt from Drew University. She has 2 chapbooks of poems, Seamus and His Smalls, 2 Key Customs, 2023, and Undressing the World, Finishing Line Press, 2022. She is also the author of An Ethics of Reading, The Broken Beauties of Toni Morrison, Nawal and Sadawi, and Arundhati Roy, Lambert Academic Publishing, 2010. She is an editor for New Jersey Audubon magazine and a member of the feminist poetry collective, the Right On Poetry Babes. Everyone, please welcome Kathy Kremins. Woo!
Thank you, Dimitri. I am a white woman with blue eyes. I'm wearing red framed glasses. I have short gray hair. I'm wearing a denim short sleeve shirt. I have a gold necklace, and I have a chest tattoo and nose piercing, earrings. And in the background, I am in my new writing space. It's lots of outside, lots of windows. There are books of poetry in the back. There's a troll and lots of stained glass. And there's also a study of Rewind, which is the painting that the cover design came from. I am just, again, it's still hard to really believe that this is happening. I want to thank a few people. I first want to thank Grisel for agreeing to read with me tonight. She, as you could tell from her readings and her poetry, and I will give voice to 2 of her poems. She is a powerhouse. She's innovative. She pushes us in so many ways as a poet and as a person to be better and to find new ways to say things and to do things and to be in the world. She's a brilliant academic and just a beautiful human being. And any space I can be in with Grisel, I want to be there. Grisel, thank you so much again for being here with me tonight. Thank yous to the CavanKerry Press team, and they truly are a team. That was part of the joy of working with them. Dimitri and Gabe and Tamara and Mayfly Designs, getting the cover done, and Baron and Joy, who were involved in the editing process. And again, it was an education. I mean, I learned so much along the way. Some quick thanks, Sarah Klein, again, for the beautiful painting that became the cover, for Isabel Y. Gonzalez for a foreword that I've read it now 5-6 times. It brings me to tears, and I'm not a crier because I'm a Newark kid. Okay. And thank you to Marina Carrera and Notorious Renee Augustin and Darla Himelis for their blurbs on the back. I live a wonderful life. It's, it's the way I feel. My boys, I don't know if they're still on screen. Felix may not have made it. Arlo, if you're there, I love you. I love you too, Felix, if you did make it. I'm reading tonight. I always like to really think about where I am in this moment. And I'm reading tonight in memory of Janice Robbie. There's a poem that I'll read that I wrote for her, who is unfortunately is gone too soon. I write for all the children of the world. And you'll see in my acknowledgements that I end with that I write for Kira McHugh and Kate McHugh. You'll have seen me reference, if you follow my social media, they're my smalls. And then my littles, Arlo Clegg and Felix Clegg. And for all those children, for all the children, may they be safe. May they be loved for who they are. May they know peace. And may they be better than us. I'm going to start with the title poem, which I think I've read in its entirety maybe once before, because it's long. So here it goes, The Curve of Things. Loving a woman is not linear. It is filled with half moons, semicircles, partial eclipses of the sun, two halves rolling into new geometric configurations, sensuous and infinite. China cups, cereal bowls, a sunflower's center, your lips on my lips, puppy's head, your lower back. The mountains outline, the stars at night, a new moon, an old wooden barrel, your hands cupped, filled with water, the yellowed pear, the brass doorknob, the city's skyline in my rearview mirror, the brush in my hand, the sleeping cat, the printed letter G, a slow word, your breasts in profile, my mouth on your neck, the silt-rich molehills, a scared possum, the crystal goblet half filled, a globe, an enjambed line, a lullaby, a baby's pout, the geography of your foot. Halos of cigar smoke, newly permed hair, dabs of frost on windows, the tips of your fingers, a cold beer bottle, a hot cup of coffee, a beagle's howl, the rabbit's root. My breath on your cheek, red, juicy tomatoes, the binding of a book, the tension in the bowstrings, a kind word, a quick pivot, the physics of baseball, the swelling in a joint, the brown cowl of the Franciscan, a tattooed bicep, the topography of your inner thigh, a half-bitten peach, an alto sax, a comb through your hair, a backward dive, a pebble, waves before they crash, the final burst of sunset, a mother and child rocking, painting, female nude, a back arcing in ecstasy, a cat before pouncing, a movie screen, your soft moans. The dog chasing his tail, an embryo floating, the moon rises full, a nova bursts forth, a belly protrudes, a knapsack explodes, your closed lids flutter. Ice freezes into cubes, a signature is written, bristles stroke a canvas, a scar under your chin, Brancusi's birds, a cliff at sunrise, milk on an upper lip, your eyes in moonlight, the silky lampshade, the sculptor's knife, your half-closed lips, your eyes in moonlight, the silky lampshade, the sculptor, excuse me, a recently emptied seat, cinnamon sweet potatoes, a ballerina's calf, a used bar of soap, chubby checkers, the twist, your head in my lap, reading a favorite poem, the chiming of our nose rings, a braid of gold on a finger, a bowl of chocolate pudding, your tongue on my nipple, my hands memorizing your body. Loving a woman lies in the curve of things. I really wanted Grisel and I to read each other's poems because it's so important for us to recognize each other and to give props to each other and to shout out our love for each other. And you know, to share the gifts that other women have and to shout it out, to give voice to it. And Grisel, as I mentioned to you before, and I could talk about her for like another 20 minutes, but I won't. not tonight. That like I just get brought into her work. And I chose two poems. I had said to Grisel, I'm like, I have to look through because I have these all tabbed down and I have to figure out which two. But Grisel also has this incredible sonics to her work. And as you could tell from her reading, this beautiful voice, and that beautiful voice, it brings in cadences and rhythms and a musicality that I don't have. So I was smart enough, even though those are some of my favorite poems, that there are enough poems in this book that are favorites of mine that I chose two that particularly resonated, you know, and I guess it's this Chicago kid and this Newark kid, and this connection that we have. But again, this giving voice, women supporting women, is extremely important to me. So the next two poems are poems from this gorgeous book that it's about 3 years old, came out just about 3 years old, like now. And I'm gonna give voice to these two poems. Life on the Playground, after Ernesto Quinones. If you walked by the lot that day when you might have assumed a child was saving a child's life, body held tightly within another, girl's arms, possibly doing the Heimlich, she told us all it was like going to sleep. We trusted her because she was 3 years older, 11. The instructions were simple enough. Breathe deeply, huffing and puffing quickly. Many times her job was to press against our chests, tight, then poof. We'd be gone, out, as onlookers marveled. Pentecostal kids screamed it was evil, but we were daredevils, volunteered for the jump into oblivion, the escape to somewhere beyond the smell of stale milk and oranges, sweat and asbestos, rust at swings and old tar asphalt. Teachers didn't notice when we punched each other. I remember looking up to a circle of unknown kids, inspecting my face, waiting for my eyes to open, wondering if I would be the one who didn't wake up. Ooh, take a breath on that one. And this next poem, the final stanza of this just blows my mind every time I read it. But let me read the whole thing before I get to the final stanza. But you'll know what I'm talking about when I get there. It's called Trash. Poppy throughout all my artwork. Derek's carved open chest, blue-black heart and orange skin and design marker scrawl, condemning our underground afternoon of South Side's sad loss. Spotlighted box of cereal called Health in a room with a grass floor, pine tree decoration, and acrylic nature. I missed this one the most. I reminded of it every time I shop at Whole Foods. Even the 2-bits. Tiny 2x2 art entered in competition or stole. 2 of mine won awards. One of them, my first sale, was bought for $5. It was a multicolored swirling cathedral called My Bed. I placed all the work under the bed in the guest room. By my next visit, it was gone, except for insane Bridget. She is framed and in the living room, face turned away, bony back curved at the viewer, harsh charcoal on brown paper. Dark copper sadness, winner of a gold prize. Poppy values winning. Anything else is trash. And this is why today he is so afraid, scared that retirement means he too is trash, wary of children who might find him useless. But artists make beauty of trash. We roll in the discarded and live with its decline, listen to it crumble and make the sound song, cradle it in our hands and sculpt it useful. I get chills every time, every single time. Grisel, thank you so much. And again, like seriously, look at all the tabs. Please get this book, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to do curve of things. I have my list, so I stay like the good teacher. I have my list. I'm going to try and stay on task here and keep my time here. Okay, and I'm going to. I had mentioned Janice Robbie, and I have a poem here that I would like to read in her memory. It's called Morning Flowers for JMR 1971 to 2020. 1. Marie wrote about what the living do. I answer by holding my place in books that might save me. Poems of the geographies of lives I've lived, buried in the geology of my body. Like that bookmark Simon cherished. Like Callus when he was dying, the one he got at Giovanni's room before any of us knew about the fever and dying so many would do. 2. Now today, word you died, Kara, always almost loving me, holding fast, laughing hard, a notion of what letting go might yield. The volta in our poem, all style and rhythm, defying form, once familiar land. This death falls hard in basalt of ink on skin, the triple Morgan we shared, smoldering for years from deadly yearning. 3. Yellow ray flowers, corolla and ovaries, dark center of discs, filaries, a tender hand, feels of eternal lightness. 4. At the end, I would read the book of tea like you tended your garden, squash, corn, beans. In the middle of night, headlamp on to stop the torrent of nightmare. I read pages I tagged years before, Okakura reminding us a butterfly is a flower with wings. I'm going to read Night Pools. For a city kid, there's a lot of nature stuff going on here, right? I'm just thinking about this now. Not that I haven't like read these poems over and over again. Night Pools, the anticipation of that first time, first look, lingering, first touch, drawing nearer to the moisture and the sound of my own breath. Paying attention has taken me lifetimes, too long. But you lead me through the woods deliberately, quietly guiding me deeper into the dark, closer to the peepers and tree frogs, vernal pool after vernal pool. I hear you exhale and whisper what might be my name into the net. The spotted salamander struggles, but only momentarily, settles with a firm grip onto your thumb. I open my hands to you, and a shiver ripples through me. I want that first moment over and over again, knowing what I know now, how to touch more lightly, slowly, sighing, holding you tenderly, gently, in awe. And I'm going to read three more. They're all shorter poems. I have to read this one because I have I went to an all girls Catholic high school. I think there were 42 of us who graduated, and I could not have had, I know I taught in high school long enough. I could not have had a better experience with better women who we laughed. We just had, and we had each other's backs, and we were all so very different. And there's LA crowd out there. And so I want to make sure that I note that, because I know that that's a blessing that I've had. So here's a poem called Wild West. As if a Jersey girl in Utah wasn't wild enough, said girl, kissing her first girlfriend, first love, on the edge of Inspiration Point. Crimson hoodoos rising spire-like across Bryce Canyon at sunset. Days later, balanced at Sunrise Point, stretched into space, looking for the best angle, leaning over the jagged crags to catch a photo, shot after red rising shot, rapid fire as I totter, slip, trip. Now, in my slow motion memory, reach back with my left hand toward earth. The Nikon from my right hand tumbles into the abyss of the gorge. I still feel your fingers dig into my shoulder, pulling me back from uncertain death. The blast of the crashing camera echoing like my bones. Certainly not the last time you saved me from me. And I'm not sure this next poem I've actually ever read out loud. I mean, I've read out loud to myself, and like Seamus the dog was, he heard, unfortunately he's not with us any longer, but he heard a lot of these. For sweetness. Succulent red apples sliced open yield a crisp sweating meat mixed with the dried juice of the apricot trapped on your fingertips and under your nails. Brushing my face in a gesture of seduction, and you turn to dip 2 fingers in honey, passionate as a worker bee. Bring those fingers to my lips where I almost drown. And I'm going to end with the very first poem in the book, because why not? Because it's non-linear, right? Yeah, nothing linear about this. This is a poem called Diversity of Matter. Before there was a periodic table, there was chaos. Some call me unruly, but life is an experiment, a search for patterns, deriving relationships and predicting behaviors. It's a chemical thing. Chlorine, bromine, iodine, calcium, strontium, barium, sulfur, selenium, tellurium. Breaking the law is the law. Law of triads, telluric screw, law of octaves. I'll show you where to touch me. Thank you, everyone.
Oh my gosh, Kathy, yay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for that reading. It's always such a joy to hear you, and I'm so glad that this baby is in the world, you know? We always feel like we are like handing babies over back to the authors, and then we get to see the books grow and age, and it's such a beautiful thing. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
We are starting the Q&A, everyone. And if you're hearing these beautiful words and feel like someone else needs this book, you can get it tonight for 20% off with the coupon code nonlinear. The link will be in the chat. And if anyone has any questions, please put it in the chat box, because we are about to enter our discussion portion of this. And I think what we're going to start with is the amount of love that was given tonight. And I love, and I love to see us in love with each other, in love with each other's work, right? And you both spoke about it. Can you both talk about uh, maybe the advantages of having a writing community like this? Um, let's start there. Like what are some takeaways that you feel like are really good about having a writing community? Maybe we can start with Grisel and then we'll go to Kathy. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I was
No,
gonna put
no,
someone on the
that's
spot.
fine. That's fine. I'll be short.
Yeah.
Our writing community is very, very New Jersey. It's very chill, and that's what I really appreciate. It's also very empowering when um you feel like maybe the world doesn't quite get you and you feel like a weirdo. To have a group of women that get you and
Mm,
that support you, um, that's everything.
mm.
And I'm probably I am the Virgo of the group. I will be honest. I'm like very nervous and
Aw.
uptight at times, and I get like frantic about my work and just life in general, and to hang out with these women, and like Isabel is putting glitter on everything and Kat is like, do what you want, you're amazing, and Marina's like asking you to be in another like art show, and Lynn is just like supporting everyone,
Yeah.
and Tamara is inspiring with her outfits. It's great. It's just a lot of love, and who doesn't want that? Yeah.
Mhm.
So it allows me to forget all of my paranoia about everything. So yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it.
And I'm a Gemini, but you know, you, my so my son is in Gemini, and my I'm Virgo rising though, and my moon is in Sagittarius. So, um, you know, it's I think about the poems in this book, and some of these poems never would have been written if not for these women.
Mm.
Um, and I was so excited that Grisel said she wanted to read the Shed Aquarium poem, because that's one of those poems. But Shed Aquarium, yes, love it. It's a yeah. I go to Chicago just for the Shed Aquarium. But um, the the way that poem was written was very different. I was really breaking away from primarily being a narrative poet, other than if I tried to work with form, and to see these brilliant women trying things and pushing me and asking me questions, or saying, and Isabel is great at this. She's like, try it in a different form. And it's like, yes, okay. So, I love homework. So it's like, yes, give me homework. And it goes, and it goes beyond that. Like doing the best that we can to show up for each other, whether it's virtual or whether, we can get there in person. It's, those are things. It's always just so lovely to know I'm going to hug this person really hard and not want to let go. And then I'm going to read.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's what it's about. I mean, this book truly would not be in the world if not for this community.
Dang.
It just wouldn't. I know that.
Yeah.
It would exist in whatever form it kept floating around for all those years. And that's certainly one of my bits of advice for younger poets. And let me tell you something, the younger poet scene in New Jersey, they got it going. New
Yeah.
Jersey and Pennsylvania, they got it going, and they've got the love moving around, and that's just gonna make us all better.
Yeah, man, you said so many like poignant things there. I do it's a trend when you're asking folks about books, and if they're connected to a community, that they do say that the book wouldn't be in the form if it wasn't for all those other voices
Mhm.
that were in there. And it's like, like I know Isabel, I could hear Isabel telling you, keep going with it, right? Like, and it's just all of you are so enigmatic. Like I'm sure that when I put this video on YouTube, I got to put everyone's name from the Right on Poetry Babes because y'all are just like insanely talented. And how lucky and how blessed you all are to like have that. Because I know it's harder for some people to find those, or like I think people would even ask like as a young author, where would you find community? So I mean that's kind of like a spatial question. All of you found each other. Would you have any suggestions for someone that is trying to look for a community? Because I've had conversations with people where they just feel like they get into certain writers communities and it's not really feeding them. It's not for them. You know, it's not really a warm environment. So are there any red flags of when not to go in a community, or if you have any tips on like how to find your people?
Well, I think if you want a community, like Marina's going to get you a community.
Ah,
Like,
find that
Marina,
one person.
like so. I mean, Marina. I mean, it was a pandemic, and you know, Marina just has this shine, right? And she shines it in so many directions, and she pulls you in, and I think that though is the key is, you know, to get pulled in and and to decide, like, do I want to be a part of this, or okay, if this isn't for me. I think really the big thing for younger people is sometimes when we're younger we don't have the confidence, right? Or we don't have the experience, and so we stay. We stay, and we're like we'll make ourselves fit. You don't need to. There are spaces out there, and it's okay to keep trying. Like, it's not a job. Nobody's paying you, so like give it a try. I think the other piece too is, we're all part of this collective, but we all have other pieces of our lives. The great thing is that we're also able to share those other things to just make it richer. So it's not like, oh, we just have this group, and I can't talk to any other feminist, women poets.
Right, right. That's
That's
wonderful.
exactly right. Like I think cast a wide net. There are lots of different writer communities that you can meet by going to readings or by going to different events around the city. There are various collectives,
Mm,
and you can just show up and listen, and see what's going on, and just show up,
mm,
and really trust your own instinct, right? Like trust yourself. Oh, this is a space I really want to be in, and then start to get to know people. I find that especially in the poetry community, people are very open to connecting with other people. But you were asking about red flags. I would say, um, anyone, any group that makes you feel like you don't want to write anymore is a
oof.
red flag.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
they're making you feel um like your work doesn't fit somewhere, and instead of like asking questions like, hey, what were you trying to do here, tell me about it, like there can be a conversation. I don't believe in the Iowa method where you're supposed to be mute and everyone just quote unquote tears you apart. I don't believe in that at
Hmm.
all.
Yeah.
So I think definitely go where people will have a conversation with you and uplift you. Like that is the
Mhm.
green flag.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And that's the thing. It's right. Like Vincent Toro has said this before, and then I quoted it, and then someone tried to put it on me, and I was like, no, 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 that wasn't me that said it. But it's like, that a poem exists in the body first, right? And then it's out there through like your writing. And I think that also goes in terms of like feedback, right? Like the poems also have to help your person. It has to make your person feel good because that's usually why we're going towards those things. So check in with the body. Yeah, that's a great red flag to look at. Thank you both so much for that grace. Now, Kathy, I got a poem from Gabriel here. So, Kathy, in the title poem, There are so many evocative images, and the juxtapositions between them are particularly striking and move the reader forward in so many directions simultaneously. You make this look effortless throughout all of your poems. How do you harmonize different concepts and images in your writing?
I mean, Gabe, that's a great question. I think part of it is just my personality. Um, I mean, I can keep blaming everything on being a Gemini, but I'm not gonna do that tonight. Um, but I think part of it is and I always go back to my father, who was the wisest man that I ever knew, wisest person I ever knew, and he would always say, "Complicated. It might look like it's this, and it may look like it's simple. Complicated." And I feel like I'm constantly doing that.
Mm,
That and you know, juxtaposition and paradox and I spend so much time with children. Why, right?
mm,
And it's I find myself trying to answer those why questions, and I'm complicating things because I'm like, well, here and it's both
mm,
and both and and so I think part of that is the way I see the world and the way that I think about the world. um and certainly there are deliberate things. I mean,
mhm.
the curve of things has been written over you know 30 years.
Wow.
Well, no, 25 years, sorry.
Mm,
Let's not push it. So 25 years based upon the
mm.
recent notes that I found. Don't ever throw notebooks out, although people don't use notebooks anymore. So anyway, wherever you're putting it, don't throw it out or don't erase it. um, and so it became longer. I added things. It's looked different on the page, but that kind of balancing act, which that's life, right?
Mhm.
It's dancing. It's how we dance and how we spin and change direction.
That's great. Yeah, I was but before we came on today, I was talking with you before we hit record about how much the poem has even changed in the past couple of years, the curve of things,
Hmm.
right? And it's
Yeah.
really wild when you're speaking to a writer and they realize that the poem doesn't have to be done right now, right?
Hmm.
Like there's so many of those lush juxtapositions because you've been able to just like compound all these experiences over time
Hmm.
and draw these wonderful connections. It's really quite beautiful. And speaking of that, I actually wanted to ask both of you this question because we were alluding to Things to Pack on the Way to Everywhere by Grisel as well. And just thinking about the craft, but not even the craft, but how long it takes to really write these books, you know? So, Kathy, you were alluding to it a little bit. Maybe Grisel, we can start with yours with Things to Pack. Like, if you could just give us a little more information on how long it took to write. When did it feel like it was done? When did you feel like it was ready to shop around, you know?
Um, well, it took a while. There are poems in this book that I wrote in the early 2000s. So like I have some stuff like the it's my shorthand for it is the DJ poem, but there's a poem, Chicago DJ Remix, North and Damon, 1993. The first time I read that, um, ay Dios, there was a special event in Midtown
Mm,
that not Rich Villar, but his counterpart who started the Acentos reading in the Bronx. They did an event in Midtown, like in the probably it was like 2002. So there are like a couple of poems in here that are very old that I honestly never thought I was even gonna have them in a book.
mm,
But yes, thank you, Vincent. Oscar Bermeo. So that was the first time I read that, and it just kind of lasted. Um, Other poems were written right as the pandemic was happening,
Mm,
you know, just the year before the book was published, um, such as we're not all in the same quarantine.
mhm,
Um, so I think that when I started out writing, I was learning a lot from the spoken word world, and that was a world that was not really respected at the time. So I had some things that were published, but I just never thought I just thought I wasn't going to have a book because
mm,
I came from a different world. And I did this weird thing where I sang some of my poems and things like
love
that. So
it.
I just didn't think it was going to happen. So, but then when I went to Texas, I met this incredible writing community and I started learning a lot more about a variety of different kinds of ways to write. And that was just a new education for me in my 30s. So I mean, I guess, yeah, things to pack. It took like about 20 years to write. So,
Wow,
Kat, you and I are like in the same boat. It took a
Yeah,
while.
that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
wonderful. And you
yeah.
know, like time, time is just kind of a man-made concept, right? Like it's
Mhm.
going to come when it's going to come. And when it feels ready, that's when you have this wonderful sheath. Thanks so much for sharing that. What a poem to I wasn't putting the timeline together, but yeah, that we're not all in the same quarantine had to be pretty close between the time you wrote that to when it was getting published. And that's a
Mhm.
knockout poem to just come out like that. So that's great. Thank you, Grisel. Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, so as Grisel was speaking, um, I was thinking, and then going back to you referencing Vincent talking about the poem being in the body. Um, I still even have a hard time saying I'm a poet. I
Wow.
I
What?
write poems, and part of that is that I since I was a child, that's what I did. I didn't journal, because my mother probably would have read it, and so I figured, well, I'll write poems. Like she's gonna wonder what the heck I'm doing. She's not gonna read them, and so I just always wrote poems. One of again, speaking of high school friends, one of my friends. Jean used to get dropped off at my house in the morning, and I would usually have like a bad, sappy poem, and she would sit and try to stay awake while waiting for my father to take us to school, and she would be dozing off. So I wrote really to connect, to understand myself, to figure out the world, and also to connect to my friends. And when I got to college, there was a creative writing teacher, Jane Coyle Cole,
Mm,
who was really the first person who said to me, like, you're a writer, like
mm.
you can do this. And yeah, I always did it, but you're working. Yeah, that thing happened. And so I would try to write, during the summer or on breaks. But I never thought too much about what a collection would look like. Even, I mean, I got an MFA. I didn't even think about that, even though I did have to write a collection. And so it really wasn't until I would say, I retired I finally retired. I retired and then I retired again in 2019. And so that's when I really started to finally like, okay, let me think about this. And certainly Lynn, Lynn and I taught together at what is now St. Elizabeth University. And Lynn was always like, I mean, we talked about poetry, we shared poetry. She's like, you really should, you have a book, like you have a book. And
Mm,
and she was right, and she certainly has been part of this becoming a book. And that's what you need. You need those people to say this can be something more than you write poems.
mm. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for the background from the both of you. And thank you so much, audience, for hanging out with us. We usually lose people by the 8-10 time. All of you are still here, which is great. But in thinking about time, I would love for each of you to end with another poem if you have one more in you. I think that'd be a great way to end the celebration of Kathy's work. One more poem. Thank you, Margie. Yeah. This was also the mistake I had for having a reading with a bunch of friends. I usually prep people by saying, "Hey, I might get that one more poem in," but we were having so much fun, I forgot to mention it. Grisel, you think you have one?
I think so. Yeah, sure.
Awesome, awesome. Okay. We'll go with you first so we can end with Kathy.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, I'll read this one a little bit of an angry poem.
All right.
Women wraiths. Sages and journalists scribble scratch, claim we are a weightless vapor along the shore of a river, contemplating the sunset as the world forgets. What? The uterine mythology set in celluloid and cheap magazines? Poof! Meanwhile, we dance a merengue with him, her, who laps our nectar off fingertips, sozzled in a stupor of joy. We wraiths screech into town on motorcycle growl and dust, bellow laughing as the rest of you sit set in holy veils. But it's aight. You may not see our ebullience, but we see you. Decades bring the delectable decadence of knowing all your business. There is no gizmo preventing your ocular muscles from scoping the female form after 40. Just admit it. You don't want to lock eyes because you don't want us to see you, the unseeable you, the sorrows, the illusions, the ways you've failed again and again. I find the irritation, the scar, the pearl. Make a necklace of hueso and shells and raw insides. Wear the creature round my neck.
I love that one. Thank you. That was a great one to end on.
Yes.
That really was.
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you, Grisel. All right, Kathy.
Thank you, Grisel. So thinking about the questions about these poems coming together for a book. This poem, a lot of these poems, because they were written over a certain period of time or decades. This is a poem that's very specific, and talking about communities that you have, and certainly if you're lucky, you get to get an education, and there are those professors or teachers who affect you and change you in a certain way. And this is a poem that I wrote in one of my doctoral classes at Drew University for a professor who would eventually become my dissertation, one of my dissertation advisors, and then my boss at the College of St. Elizabeth. And I wrote this poem. It's called Mapping, in one of Dr. Laura Winter's classes. And again, that gift of space, that people give you. And in a class, this was a class on healing, and it was there was a very much a creative piece to that course, along with some pretty serious academic rigor and reading. And so this is to all the teachers out there, however it is that you bring your teaching self to the world, and certainly thanks to Laura. It's called Mapping. Watching you sleep, moved by the shape of your body, I wonder about the scars, childhood mishaps provoked by your endless curiosity, marks dropped on the surface from chickenpox, faint as if you had been mapped by drops of soft rain, and the memorials of love scratches from beloved cats, leaving Hansel and Gretel patterns on your hands that have traced my own scars like reading a book. Have you felt the tracks of my living in such quiet spaces where my chest rises and falls against your back, pressing those scars into your sleeping form, wishing you awake, shaken by the turning of your body? Pages of Braille, mysterious to the unfamiliar fingers, you translate me into all our languages.
Wow. Kathy Kremins, everyone. Wow. Thank you so much for that. It was truly beautiful to have this evening with you and to have this evening with Grisel and just celebrate all of your work, Kathy. Truly, it's every
Thank
time a
you.
book comes out, it's an honor. I'm so glad to help usher in all these books throughout the year, but I'm particularly glad and particularly happy when it's someone I'm close with. So thank you. Gabe, at this point in time, if you wanted to take everyone off mute to say their good nights, this was the 33rd installment of our reading, and I'm just so happy. Thank you, Grisel, so much for spending the evening with us as well.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you all. Love you.
Thank you,
Love
Kathy.
you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Grisel. This was lovely.
Wonderful,
Oh,
wonderful,
gosh.
wonderful.